magic, white and black, the science of finite and infinite life. If we were not able to feel with the mind, we would not be able to become conscious of the character of the things we see and whose qualities are invisible to us. But the individual spheres of beings enter and pervade each other and exchange their sensations like the circular rings produced if a handful of pebbles is thrown into a lake. Perception is passive imagination, because if we perceive an object, the relation which it bears to us comes to our consciousness without any active exertion on our part. But there is an active perception or imagination by which we may enter into a relation with a distant object in space by a transfer of consciousness. By this power we may act upon a distant object if we succeed in forming a true image of it in our own consciousness. By concentrating our consciousness upon such an object, we become conscious in that place of the sphere of mind where that object exists. Instead of perceiving an already existing relation, we establish consciously a relation between such an object and ourselves. If I can form in my mind a true image of an absent person and cling to it with my will, I'm then identified in my mind with that person and am actually with him or her. My real I is everywhere, and wherever I locate my consciousness, there am I consciously myself, all except the physical form. How could I be nearer to a friend than to be in perfect harmony with his soul, and identified with him in his own consciousness? Consciousness is existence. And there are as many states of consciousness as there are states of existence. Every living being has a consciousness of its own, the result of its sensations, and the state of its consciousness changes every moment of time, as fast as the impressions which it receives change. Because its consciousness is the perception of the relation it bears to things, and as this relation changes, consciousness changes its character. If our whole attention is taken up by animal pleasure, we exist in an animal state of consciousness. If we are aware of the presence of spiritual principles such as hope, faith, charity, justice, truth, and so on, in their highest aspects, we live in our spiritual consciousness. And between the two extremes there are a great variety of gradations. There's only one kind of consciousness which never changes its form, because its relation to things never changes, it being in relation with nothing except with itself. It is the divine consciousness of existence per se, the realization of the I am. It cannot change, because existence per se never changes. Its change would involve non-existence or the annihilation of all. When the absolute one life becomes relative in a form, the degree of its manifestation depends on the state of the activity of life expressed in the organization of its form. In a low organized form, there may be sensation, but there is no intelligence. An oyster has sensation and consciousness, but no intelligence and no power of discrimination. A man may have a great deal of intellect and no consciousness of the existence of spirituality, sublimity, justice, beauty, or truth. If these divine principles have become fully alive and self-conscious in him, then, and only then, is he in possession of divine wisdom. The lowest existences follow implicitly the laws of nature or of universal wisdom. They have no wisdom of their own. The highest spiritual beings follow their own wisdom, but their wisdom is identical with the universal law. The difference between the lowest beings and the highest ones is, therefore, that the lowest ones perform the will of God unconsciously and unknowingly, while the highest ones do the same thing knowingly and consciously. It is only the intermediary beings between the lowest and highest who imagine that they are their own lawgivers and may do what they please. The muscular system exercises its habitual movements in the act of walking, eating, and so on, without being especially guided by a superintending intellect, like a clockwork that, after being once set in motion, continues to run. And a man who is in the habit of doing that which is right and just will act in accordance with the law of justice instinctively and without any consideration or doubt. Each state or existence has its own mode of perception, sensation, instinct, consciousness and memory, and the activity of one may overpower and suppress that of the other. A person being only conscious of the sensations created by some physical act is at that time unconscious of spiritual attractions. One who is under the influence of chloroform may lose all his external sensation of pain and yet be conscious of his surroundings. One in a state of trance may be fully awake on a higher plane of existence and entirely unconscious of what happens on the physical plane. The muscular system may be semi-conscious and overpower the intellect, or the conscious and intelligent brain may control the muscular system. A person may climb up to the most dizzy heights of a tower or a mountain peak, and if there is a rail or a staircase to afford him even an imaginary protection, he will not be very liable to become overpowered by the sense of danger. His intellect may be aware of danger, but reason teaches the unreasoning animal man, filling the muscular system with the sensation of security, and he will not be very liable to fall. But if you remove the protection, the sensation of danger presenting itself before the mind impresses the unreasoning animal instincts with the overpowering illusion of fear, and danger may become imminent. The body becomes conscious of the attraction of the chasm, the intellect too weak to guide the will to resist the tendency of the excited body to follow that attraction, and the person may fall. The unintelligent muscular system is conscious of nothing else but the attraction of earth. In it, the element of earth predominates, and unless it is upheld by the intellect and will, it seeks to act according to the impulse created in it by that attraction. The astral body per se is unintelligent, and unless infused with the intelligence coming from the higher principles, it follows the attractions of the astral plane. These attractions are the emotions created by desires. As the physical body, if unguided by reason, may fall and perish by the fall, so the astral body, following the attractions of love and hate, may refuse to obey the intelligent principle of man and seek its own destruction. The animal consciousness of man is that unreasoning brute instinct which impels him to seek for the gratification of his natural desires. Correctly speaking, there is no such thing as animal reason, animal intellect, animal consciousness, etc. Consciousness, reason, intelligence, and so on, in the absolute have no qualifications. They are universal principles, that is to say, functions of the universal one life, manifesting themselves on various planes in mineral, vegetable, animal, human, astral, and transcendental forms. The condition of a person whose consciousness is no more illuminated by reason is seen in cases of emotional mania, and sometimes in cases of actual obsession. In such cases, the person will act entirely according to the impulses acting upon his lower consciousness, and when he recovers his reason, be entirely unconscious of his actions during that state. Such states manifest themselves in only one person, or they may simultaneously affect several persons and even whole countries, becoming epidemic by the law of induction, as has been experienced in some wholesale obsessions occurring during the Middle Ages. They are often observed in cases of hysteria, may be witnessed at religious meetings, during theatrical performances, during the attack upon an enemy, or at any other occasion where the passions of the multitude are excited, inducing them to acts of folly or bravery, and enabling people to perform acts which they would be neither willing nor able to perform if they were guided only by the calculations of their intellect.